Hi, guys. Welcome back to the That's Where I'm At podcast. If you're only listening today, I hope you'll go and check out and subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can not only see our beautiful faces, but you'll be able to leave a comment for our guest. Today on the show, I have Amy. Amy Watkins is a therapist turned truth teller, speaker, and author, guiding men and women to uncover childhood patterns, break toxic cycles, and choose themselves. Amy shares her story of growing up under religious conditioning and neglect, surviving sexual abuse, and how these experiences shaped her identity for years. In her book, Performing Normal, A Woman's Story from Self-Abandonment to Self-Leadership, Amy talks about finding your voice, discovering yourself, and reclaiming your life. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks.
So Amy and I met on Instagram. And are total strangers until right this second.
I flew all the way across the states to see you.
That's right.
Here I am in Vegas.
Yes. So we decided to do an in-person interview. So if you're not watching, go over to YouTube and check us out. So Amy, tell me, like you've gone through so much and now you're writing a book or you've written a book about how to heal from so much stuff that you went through and then others go through. So tell me, why did you decide to start talking about this?
Well, I started talking because I had been silenced for a really, really long time. So initially, I started talking last year. I really went through a big spiritual awakening, and it started in January 2025. I had left my marriage, my second marriage, for the fourth time.
Oh, well, that's okay.
It was a bit of a trauma bond.
Okay. Well, that's average.
Really
the average is 7 times.
Yeah,
so you did good.
I beat the average.
Better than average.
And yeah, that was just such a struggle to leave. And even having left, I just couldn't understand why I was so stuck. Like why I couldn't. I knew I needed to leave. Leaving so many times, each time I left, I was discerning more and more like that I needed to leave. But I was so stuck and ruminating about him, and I just didn't understand what was keeping me so stuck.
Right.
And so I went through this sort of awakening, which was just showing me what it was that was keeping me stuck, which was not choosing myself. And I had to choose myself. And so what happened was just losing everything one at a time. Things just sort of fell away, and I lost things. And I just started to have to, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, right? Like, what does it even mean to choose yourself?
Right.
I was abandoning myself. I was talking to my clients about abandoning myself, and I didn't even fully understand what that meant.
I can totally resonate with that.
I just didn't.
For years at church, I taught women how to love themselves, and I forgot to do it for myself. It's like, it's amazing. So was your marriage abusive?
It was.
Yeah. So
I couldn't even recognize it because he was so nice.
I've never heard of that.
He was so nice. He actually was so nice that I didn't understand it because he orbited my life. Like I can't even tell you that he was bad. Like he wanted to breathe the air that I breathed.
Okay.
So,
but did it feel stifling?
How could that be bad?
Right.
How could that be bad?
But you said you were self-abandoning. So did you feel like you were stifled?
I was so smothered.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I didn't even know what I wanted or needed. But you asked why I started to speak.
Yeah.
And the reason I started to speak was actually I had been so layered, right? There's so many layers.
Always.
Because for me, it started in my childhood. And I just carried the patterns out in my adulthood. And so what actually led me to speak is hearing things from my first marriage that, after all of these years, he's still speaking about me. And I was like, why? Like, why is my name still being
in
spoken
your mouth?
about?
Why
is it?
Yes.
And I've been silent for so long. I've been keeping your name out of my mouth for so long. Why is my name still in your mouth? And I don't know. I think something in me just snapped one day. I don't know. And I went home and I was like, it's time to talk.
This is it.
It's time to talk. And I made a video and I posted it, and I was probably very authentic, maybe a little sarcastic. And I was like, we just need to pray. We need to pray for this person because it's time. And once I started to talk, I couldn't stop.
And did you have people resonating with you?
I did.
Yeah.
And I put a video out that was 7 minutes long.
Okay.
And I didn't edit it. I thought no
You
one's
just
ever
threw
going to watch
it out
this.
there. Yeah.
Who's going to watch a 7-minute video on a platform that watches 2-second videos.
Yes.
You know? And like 50,000 people watched it. And I was like, I don't know what's happening
right
now. And so over the course of a year and a half, people started to see me become myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked a little bit before, this is me a year and a half old. Like this is me becoming my authentic self, because for 47 years, I had no idea who I was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And, you know, like when you share, because I did the same thing. I'm like, oh no. I was silent for 55 years. I'm like, no, this is it. I'm gonna start talking. I did do it out of pettiness, but it resonated with so many people.
You did do it out of pettiness? Is that what you said?
I did.
I think that I started that way too.
I am fully aware that I did it out of pettiness. And so, but it was something that needed to happen.
Yeah.
Like I needed to heal, because you feel that way, like you snap, because I totally understood how women snap and was like, but I'm not going to jail for anybody, so I'm not going to do that.
Would not look good in those colors.
No, I'm not going to do that. But having people resonate with me.
Yeah.
But then having people tell me to not talk about it. So did you have that side as well?
I had so many people.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, my family, you know, people really just almost this, like the negative comments, some said stop talking completely. Yeah. But there were more, you know, well, I can see why you're the problem. I mean, I can see why they, you know, talked to you that way or treated you that way. Like clearly you're the problem. Yeah. Those were the comments. And in the beginning, they really rattled my nervous system in the worst way. Yeah. I had to work through that. And that was just part of the healing process. Yeah. For me, that was just part of the whole process of coming back to myself. Like hearing the things, hearing, you know, they're strangers. These people, they don't mean anything to me. And I've heard so much worse, but I had to go through that whole process of
it stings
unlearning.
Stings for a reason, right? Yeah. That you have to almost check yourself. And that's when it's good to have tools in your toolbox to check yourself and say, wait, is that true? I remember so many times, like sitting in therapy, is it true? Is it not true? Yeah. I know, but she would say, it's like someone said something, or he said something rude to you. You took it and imagine it's a pillow, and then you held it and you won't let it go. I'm like, oh. Oh,
I heard the poopy diaper one.
Oh.
Like someone threw a poopy diaper at you and you decided to take it and wipe it all over yourself.
Oh.
And keep it.
Yeah. Okay. I like the pillow idea.
We'll keep the pillow. But you know, when you learn growing up that you are the problem.
Yes. Exactly.
That is like the message that I received, because I grew up in really strict religion. Yeah. Very cult-like, very fundamental. And my role was the scapegoat. I learned I was the problem. It was my job to really be not seen or heard, be very quiet, be very good.
Yeah, of course.
I was supposed to be a very good girl. And I just learned that men were always right.
Okay, yeah.
Men were right. Men were in charge. Yeah. Do as you're told. Yeah. And that is really what I took into. I met and married my first husband in 7 weeks. Like the day I met him to the day I married him.
Wow.
But I didn't even, I say the bar was on the floor. I didn't even, he didn't even have to do anything. Yes. I was like, oh, the Lord sent him. Yes. The Lord gave me this person.
Yeah.
It's got to be right.
It's got to be right. So let's talk about how that's a red flag.
That is a red flag.
Too fast. And then if
you don't know a person in 7 weeks.
No, and if you are in a religious community, many times you're like, well, I want to have sex, and the only way I can do that is to get married. And this is how so many people end up in abuse, because now especially if you're like, say, in a high control religion, or instead of a well, let's just say a religious community where they're saying like, you got to submit and you got to do this. And well, your husband is abusive. You need to pray more. You need to look at yourself to see what's wrong. Things like that. Yes, of course, we don't blame for abuse, but we always do look at our patterns like we've been doing, right? Yep. But to sit there and say like, just submit more. And like I stayed and prayed for 25 years. Like, what good did that do me? I was in abuse. There was no changing him. Yeah. And and people who are listening who don't know about abuse, yes, you do want them to change because they're abusing you.
Yeah. We're like, why
Yeah.
won't they do it? Why are they doing that to me?
Yeah.
We keep asking, why is that happening? Why don't they do something different, instead of asking, why do I keep tolerating it?
Right.
And I always tell people, when you are raised in chaos and abuse, the
Yeah.
red flags don't look red. They
No.
look like your average Tuesday.
And they look like home.
It just feels so normal.
It does.
You don't feel it like it. You don't like it. Something feels
Right.
Ugh, it doesn't feel good. I don't
Mhm.
like this. I wish he wouldn't do it. I wish he would do
Mhm.
something different. But also, it's all I know how to do.
That's just it. And so when we've been taught that, right? And also you were taught, and I really was too, that if you do the right things, whatever X, Y, and Z are. So if you do the right things, you will get the right life.
Well, for me, I learned I will get jewels in my crown.
Oh, correct.
When I get to heaven.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Like,
You're right.
my life isn't going to be rainbows and sunshines, because I grew up in poverty. Like, there wasn't any real, I wasn't, store your treasures in heaven.
Yes.
Don't
Nothing's
earthly,
happening here. Yes.
You shouldn't want anything earthly.
No.
Like, if you want earthly things, there's
bad. Something wrong.
There's very
yes.
bad. Those are bad people that want earthly things.
Right.
So if you just do what you're told and you do what's good and right, then when you get there, you'll have earthly treasures. And so it's really, dig deep.
Yes. Yeah.
Put your head down. I heard that
so many
keep
times.
Going.
Another jewel in my crown, but it's like, okay, but and
I'm suffering.
Right, exactly. And we don't need to get into we don't need to like start pulling scripture or anything like that. But when you've been brought up in like high control religion, and even for me, I didn't think I was until we start talking like this. And it's like, God, it was so high control because those kinds of things, like spiritual bypassing, is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do not tell me that this is putting more jewels in my crown. Right now, I'm dying.
Yes.
I was literally dying inside my marriage, and everybody's just like, keep on praying. I was telling you, like, every Bible study book said, God, make me a better wife.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't like me. I can tell he hates me. Like, he says I'm terrible. Like, that's horrible.
It's so bad.
And everybody's just like, keep praying. We'll just pray for him. And nothing changed, because he would tell me there's nothing wrong with me. It's all you. So until I eventually woke up, but everyone's heard that. Yeah. So
I actually didn't know in my marriage. I didn't know.
Me either.
I had no idea.
Me either.
Until I left. In fact, it took me 2 years of therapy, thinking I was such a horrible person.
Of course.
I felt so guilty.
Yeah.
Like, I'm leaving this amazing man.
Yes.
What kind of person am I to leave such a good person? It took me so long to work through the guilt and the shame and to finally understand what was happening underneath.
So when you look back now, you can see that it was abusive.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Yeah. Because
I couldn't see it when I was in it.
Right. Because when we're in it, it looks like you said, a regular Tuesday. It looks like home. It looks like your childhood. It looks, and especially even if it looks amiss, we've been taught and we've been societalized, and we've been the jewels in the crown and all those things so you kind of endure, you just kind of keep enduring because maybe he's somebody in the church, or he's a nice man. He's a good man. Yeah. I heard that all the time, how great he was. He was serving the homeless. And I'm like, he doesn't even acknowledge that I'm existing, and he's serving the homeless. I'm like, it'd be cool if he would like talk to me, know? So that's what people don't see. And it's really hard, because I remember talking to friends all the time and they'd be like, I don't even know what you're fighting about. I'm like, I don't know what I'm fighting about because you know how it is. It's crazy making. The bar keeps getting moved. And so you're like, I don't know. I'm just a terrible person.
Well, they manage down your expectations.
Yeah.
Right. When you start and you get together, the love bomb, right? That amazing feeling, the chemistry that you feel.
Yes.
Your expectations are pretty high. You're like, wow, this is amazing. And slowly over time, if you think about texting, right? In the beginning, you're just inundated with all these text messages, and then slowly they're less and less and less.
Yeah.
And you think all the way to the end, when you're barely getting a message.
Yes.
But that has happened so slowly over time.
Right.
And that's called managing down your expectations.
Amazing,
so that at the end, you're so grateful to get one message and you're labeling it love.
Right.
Like, oh my God, he answered. He texted.
He finally answered. And so this is when we get into the cycle, right? The crazy making cycle of really the breadcrumbing, right? And then we're already in a trauma bond because it's an intermittent abuse, intermittent reinforcement.
Yep.
And so by this point, when the text messages are slowing down and we want more, they might come back with something, or they might throw us a, "You're so beautiful. I love you. I'm so thankful for you," whatever the things are.
Yep.
And so now we're back on the high, and we're now more chemical reaction and helping us keep in the trauma bond,
Yeah.
right? And so we can't see it. Another breadcrumb thrown, but you'll starve to death with breadcrumbs. It's crazy making for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in such a trauma bond in my other relationship. He didn't actually have to do any work.
Oh, okay.
He didn't have to do it. He knew me so well, right? Because they study us.
Of course,
they
yes.
mirror us. They learn
yes.
us so better than we do know ourselves.
Yeah.
They know us, right? So he knew me and my wounds so well that he could use them. And so when I finally left, he didn't have to do anything. So he did the reverse Hoover, and he would just vanish.
Amazing.
So people, hoovering, where they would just kind of, they would maybe show up, or they would send the text to reach out and see if they have access to you.
Yes.
Right? He would do the reverse, and he would just vanish.
Interesting.
And it would activate my nervous system and every abandonment wound that I had, because I would think if I am the love of his life, the way that he says that I am, right? And the way he would orbit me when he was with me.
Yeah.
I mean, he would need to be with me all of the time.
Wow.
Like,
okay.
I was his world.
So then you feel special.
I'm very special. Right?
Yes.
So then when I leave,
yeah,
he would vanish. Like, I would not see him anywhere.
That's crazy.
Hear from him, see him gone, just gone. And in the beginning, I'd be like, okay, now I can breathe.
Yes.
I'm back to myself. And then, a month goes by, and I'm like, well, now what he's doing? He must have found somebody better.
Right.
Somebody's better. He's very busy. Now he's like moved on so quick. How did he do that?
Right.
I've lost like something really special.
So now you're dysregulated.
Now I'm losing it.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And now I go chasing.
Right.
Now I have chased, and now I've validated his ego, and he's like, now I'm really special. Look, she's come after me.
Exactly.
He's now abused me,
and
and now I've chased him.
And it's a part of the control.
Yeah.
That's why they do it.
Yeah.
To see, like,
sure.
Because if you give them that inch, they're going to take a mile. And that's why, I mean, the trauma bond keeps us going back. Like, we leave and go back and leave and go back, all that, or we take them back, things like that. The trauma bond keeps us doing that. But every time you do, the statistics show that the abuse will get worse.
Faster.
Yes. Like, they're not going to like wait around, whatever. I always tell this story that I was listening to the speaker, and she was talking about how she was going to give her, I think it was her husband. They were still married, going to give him one more chance. And then she was going to like get a divorce if he didn't change. So I'm going to give him 6 months. And her therapist goes, "You won't need it. We'll see you back, when you're ready, but you won't need 6 months." No, she was back within 2 months. She was filing within 2 months because he couldn't hold it together. She'd given him every chance. And he's like, because basically what they want to say is, this is who I am. And mine did. This is who I am. If you have a problem, you deal with it.
Yeah.
And so we have to decide, but can you live like that?
Yeah. Well, once I finally started to have all this clarity, I'm like, oh, the trying, the carrot, you're chasing the carrot. They're saying they're trying, they're reading the book, they're doing whatever they're saying that they're doing. Yeah. And I finally sat and I said to him, what do you think is wrong with you? Like, what do you find that you feel like you're trying, right? You keep telling me that you're trying.
Whatever that means. It's so generic.
And I appreciate it, right? That's really great. What is it that you feel is that you feel you need to work on? Yeah. What is it that you feel is broken or is difficult and with you or with our relationship that you're actually working on? I'm just curious. Yeah. You would have an answer to that, right? Right. And he was like, I want to be a better person. I want to be a better husband. I want very generic. I'm like, you're not trying. No. You have no idea what you're trying for. Therefore, you are not trying.
They know to say the words they're trying.
They're mirroring.
Yeah, they're trying. And this is the other thing I heard, which irritates me to no end when I hear other people, like when I'm coaching women or whatever, they said, he always wants to go, well, I know I have things to work on, but you do too. Like it's always that you do too. It doesn't matter if we're talking about,
Yeah.
hey, like just, funny thing, like stop robbing banks. Well, I know that I rob banks, but you have issues
Mhm.
too, like,
Yeah.
and it drove me insane.
Mhm.
And then of course I was not in trauma informed therapy. So, cause I didn't know I was in a trauma.
Mhm.
Um, and they would tell me, well, just tell him like, we're only focusing on you right now or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
Well, that never works. Nope, we both have things. It's a
Mhm.
partnership marriage. I'm like, it's not really a partnership. Like, you literally want me to change and not you.
Well, we got back together one of the times,
Okay.
and he wanted to show me that he was doing well, so we went to his therapist
Okay.
together.
Mm.
And I'm a therapist, which is, and I want people to understand,
Yes.
we're very often, a, I say this, a good therapist is doing their work,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They should be doing their work,
Mm-hmm.
and we're very often just a few steps ahead of our clients, because the clients
Yeah.
typically find us in the same areas that we're working on. Like, it's just kind
Oh,
of very often how it
yes.
works, right?
Yes.
And so I was understanding that we were in a trauma bond. And so when we went into this therapist,
Oh,
and
okay.
I looked at her and I said, I think we're trauma bonded.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she said, you've hurt him a lot too. And I had this moment of, well, that's ridiculous. But enough time of second guessing myself my whole life, I was like, oh, well, I guess that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked right back into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Knowing in my body that we were trauma bonded,
Mm-hmm.
but I have been
Mm-hmm.
before, so good at hearing people tell me what I am or what I believe or
Yes,
what
exactly. Yes.
what to
What you should
do or
think
what
or
I
whatever.
should think or who I
Yes.
should be. And I was like, oh, yep, I guess that's true.
I guess that's true. I so resonate with that. And so, like, just us telling the listeners that when you have a therapist that uses like but and then discount, because that will discount what was just said.
Exactly.
And not really listening to you. They may not be trauma informed. And so if you think that any of this is resonating with you, you have to go to trauma informed
Yeah.
therapy so that, because they will understand. They're not going to say things like that, like, well, let's look at what you did to him, because we don't blame for abuse. We do look at our patterns, but that's when we go to individual therapy and start working on our lifelong patterns of what we've been doing. To attract, I always say, to attract the clowns. I'm like, why do the clowns keep finding me? Why do I keep showing up to the circus? Because there's something happening at the circus that I enjoy.
Yes.
And so I can think back. I had some terrible therapists who were like, you guys need to work it out and things like that. Like when it should have been done so many years before, but I didn't understand it. Didn't understand it.
Well, and I will tell people, a really good couples therapist will see both of you for 2 or 3 sessions and truly say, you need to work on this in individual therapy and you need to work on this in individual therapy, because we cannot do couples work if people are not doing individual work.
That makes sense.
It just isn't, it's not going to happen.
No.
And couples work with a toxic individual, a narcissist or not, is not going to work. They're going to weaponize the language that they're using, and it's just going to be worse.
Yes, the weaponized language. That's always fun. Yeah. Or even when they, like, you have some vulnerability with them, they'll weaponize that.
My goodness.
And it's hard because when you're in, let's just say a marriage, when you're in a marriage, right? This is your person and you want to share, these are the struggles I've had. This is what I'm working on or whatever. So I've talked about my childhood with my ex at the time when he was my husband. And then something would come up and he'd be like, well, this is a childhood problem. That's probably why you can't get through this. And I'd be like, I feel like I worked on this. Like I was the one going to therapy. So I'm like, I feel like I worked on this. I don't think that's it. But it was so much of a deflection of like, we're not going to look at whatever's happening in our relationship. This seems to be your childhood issue. And it's like,
it's always your childhood issue.
Totally used it against me. And also I heard, and I don't know if you did, that I can't see that you're making changes. You're telling me you're making changes and you're working on yourself, but I don't see it. And I have to say, looking back, I know that he did, because I can see where he started to devalue and discard me, where like there was hardly he stopped talking to me. He stopped being intimate with me, like that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
that's when I was really working on myself,
Mm-hmm.
learning boundaries and stuff like that. And he was like, well, I'm
Yeah.
not about that.
I heard a lot of you forget a lot of things. I heard that. And
Oh, so much
I
gaslighting.
did have a tendency to forget a lot of things from a childhood of dissociation. Like
Yeah.
that was real.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I remember a lot of things.
Isn't that
Right?
interesting?
Because we tend to remember
Yes.
the terrible things
Yes.
and forget the good things. It's the way that our traumatized brains work.
Yes.
But it was interesting how that got weaponized because he didn't want me to remember a lot of the
Of
things.
course,
And
yeah.
so, but it took me, I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I do forget a lot of things.
Of
And
course.
what a wonderful way to weaponize.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's gaslighting. And
Yeah.
I heard that too. Like we did not talk about that. What are you even talking about?
Mhm.
And then so like after I was healing, so I don't know if this happened to you, but after I started my healing process, literally just be laying in bed, like watching TV or reading or whatever I was doing, and all of a sudden my brain would go like, "Hey, you remember this thing?"
Oh, yeah. That still happens.
It still is happening to me too. It's
Yeah.
bizarro.
It's actually the smaller things now that pop up.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, no. Oh, I missed that too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gross.
But really, all we can do, yes, you
I
can
know.
live and learn, really.
Yeah.
I know it makes you, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are times I'm like, wait a second, I think that was a lie. And I'm like, wow,
I know it was a
brain.
lie.
I'm like, brain, hello. Like,
Mhm.
why are you giving me this information? But
Mhm.
so what is it? Our traumatized brain is like starting to heal and get clarity. And
Well, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And the more clear you get, the more things are going to come back. They just, yeah. And we need to grieve them and work through them.
Okay.
I mean,
like
how
that.
much, how much trauma we lived through.
Right.
How much we had to lie to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because truly, there's things you remember and you think, oh, no, that was a lie. But I know full well I sat in front of him.
Yeah.
And I knew he was lying to me. And I chose
Me too.
to not even believe it, but to believe it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
go along.
But I knew it was a lie.
Of course.
And I just thought, okay, it's this pathological hope, right? I talk about it. We bring it. It is too difficult to think that our parent is not a nice person when we're little.
Yeah.
Right.
Of
How are we
course.
going to survive?
And you don't have any other options
We have
because
no
you're a
options.
child and
Yeah.
where are you going to go and what are you going to do?
Yeah. So if I'm better tomorrow, they might be nicer.
Yes.
They might love me the way that I need.
Yes.
And we just keep hanging on to that pathological hope and we carry it into our relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to think if I'm with a predator, an abuser. So I just think I'm going to be better.
Yeah.
I'm going to fix it and then it will get better.
Right.
Right. It's sort of like, I think I shared with you the last time I saw this person, he said, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm doing okay. I'm doing well.
Yes.
And he was like, oh, I wanted you to be not doing well so that you would have come back.
Oh my God. That's so disturbing.
And I was like, you said it out loud.
You said the quiet part
like,
out loud.
What? Did you hear yourself? I mean, I didn't say that, but inside I was like,
but they're
that's
delusional.
Disturbing.
So disturbing.
You were wishing for my downfall so that you could be comfortable.
Yeah.
That's disturbing.
Well, they can't know or believe or see you doing well.
No.
Because they think that they're giving you everything in the world, and you ungrateful person, you left or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, but you were abusing me.
But he said it so nicely.
Yeah.
It was so very calm. It wasn't in anger. It was just very calm. And the older version of me would have heard that as a very kind and sweet sentence.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
Do you know? Like, oh, he wanted me back.
Yes.
Oh, he would have taken me back.
Yes.
Like the old version. And that actually is an argument in my head sometimes still.
Wow. Yeah.
Like
somebody wants me. Somebody wants to choose me.
It's cognitive dissonance. Like
it
is because of how it was said. It was said so calmly.
Yes. Very kindly, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, I was hoping you were doing poorly so that you might come back.
Yeah.
Like the old version of me would have thought, oh, that he still wants me.
Yeah.
Right. So to be able, you have to think of like a tapeworm, right? They're like blind and spineless and sort of nothing,
Yeah.
right? But they live in you and they feed off of you. They eat
Mhm.
all of your food and literally starve you to death.
Yes.
It's the same sort of concept. They just
Yeah.
exist and they're
Yeah.
just consuming you until you die
He's like,
inside,
I need a
essentially.
supply. I was
That's
hoping I
it.
could get supply from you.
That's it. They're
That's
not
what he,
always aggressive. They're not
yeah.
always angry. They're not always.
And they're not going to say, I was hoping to get more supply from you, because
No.
then you don't react. You don't have cognitive dissonance over that.
Right.
I wanted to ask you something about your book,
Mm-hmm.
From Self-Abandonment to Self-Leadership.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about. It doesn't really matter, because I just thought that was really good, because the self-abandonment is so key. And like when you're
Yeah.
working with women, is that what you're seeing? Is that, or even like when you're on Instagram,
Yeah.
like it's the bottom line, isn't it? Because like even on the way here, you and I were talking about certain things and we're like, that was self-abandonment. Like everything that we did, almost like when you're self-gaslighting yourself, like
Mhm.
they train you, and then you're like, well, I'll just
Mm.
self-abandon,
Yeah.
and I'll go along.
Yeah.
I remember you saying like, he didn't have to ask me to do X, Y, and Z. I would just do it, so that
All I knew.
that's all you knew.
That's
Oh,
all
and
I
this
knew.
is what I remember now. As we were talking about that, it's if you look at it too close, right? Because if you look at what's going on, right? Him sitting in front of you lying,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going, I know he's lying,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to say he's lying, because I did the same thing. Because I'd be like, there is something going on. If I call him out, if I look directly at the sun, I always say, if I look directly at the sun, my entire world will collapse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a real, I always tell people, like, don't get scared of this part, but that's a real thing that happens. Like, your systems are going to change, but they're going to change for the better.
Yeah.
And you don't lose people, they lose you.
Yeah. But it doesn't feel that way
It
at
doesn't
first.
feel that way at all.
So bad.
It does feel so
It
bad.
feels so bad. And I think that's sort of the shift that I've been making lately in my voice and in what I've been sharing, more so from my trauma message. I'm so tired of my trauma story, right? Like when you start to heal,
Yeah.
just tired of living in the trauma story,
Mhm.
because I've done so much healing, to like finding yourself and your authenticity and not living in that anymore, and being able to,
Yeah.
move forward and not abandon yourself anymore.
Yeah.
But those words, I think, are confusing for people sometimes.
Yeah.
They were for me,
Yeah.
and I'm a therapist, which I
Right.
think is so
You're
interesting.
not the only therapist I have interviewed that has a story
we
like
talk
this.
the talk,
Yeah.
but when you haven't yet embodied it, when you
Yeah.
haven't yet experienced it,
Yeah.
it's so different when you do.
Yeah.
And so to have moved through
Mhm.
the grief, to have had it go through the body and
Yeah.
actually regulate,
Mhm.
is a very different space.
Yeah.
And so to be able to move into authenticity and to understand what it means, like what does not abandoning yourself mean? So
Yeah.
every time you say yes, when you
Love
mean
it.
no, right? If you say, do you
Yeah.
like this coffee?
Right. Right. And you say yes.
And you're like, yeah, but I don't, right?
Right.
I'm saying you're more important than I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you before me.
Mhm.
And we did it over and over and over, because that's
Mhm.
what we learned how to do growing
Right.
up.
Right.
It's the only template that
Yeah.
we had.
And that's really just the simple thing. But it then, as we start, okay, so then as you start to find yourself,
Mhm.
whatever that means, or even
Whatever that means.
reconnect with yourself, all those things, right?
Mhm.
Because I know we've talked about that. When people say, like, the women we work with say, like, I want to get back to who I was. No, you don't.
No.
No, you don't. That
Mm-mm.
person was a spineless jellyfish
Mhm.
who let people walk all over her. We want to move forward
Yeah.
in power.
But who is that?
Who is that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's, so my healthy friends were like, it's so exciting. You get to
Mhm.
decide who you are now. And I'm
Mhm.
like, shut up.
Mhm.
Because I was so broken.
Yeah.
But it's true. You
Mhm.
get to, like, I never thought, here, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to
Mhm.
write a book. I'm going to be a speaker. Like, who thought of that?
Yeah.
That was not my childhood dream. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to talk about trauma when I grow
Mhm.
up. But this is who I've become as in the healing process, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you seeing that with, like, is it confusing for women when they're like, I want to get back to who I was?
I think it's very difficult to I think it starts really, really simple. And I wish I could remember where I learned this. And truly, if anybody out there knows,
Yeah.
I would love to know so I can credit
Yes.
this person. So please let me know. But I will tell my clients it's very fundamental. Like, it has to start at the very basic of basic levels,
Okay.
where you learn how you have abandoned yourself so that you can start to find yourself.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you discover yourself if you haven't even
Yes.
figured out that you've left her somewhere?
Right.
You've got to know where she is.
Well, I think I mean, if we go basic, the coffee, did you
Yeah.
like it or not like it, right?
Sure.
And I had called my friend and I said, hey, I'm sending you Instacart because she lives across town. And I said, tell me which salad dressing you want. And
Yeah.
she said, I don't know
Yeah.
because I've never picked a salad dressing.
Yeah.
And it's simple things like that. And then I was trying to be the healthy friend going, congratulations, you get to choose a salad dressing.
Well, we start with peeing with me. I tell my clients, let's start with peeing.
Peeing?
So now you're all going to think of me in the morning. You're welcome when you go to the bathroom. But when you think of yourself in the morning, you get up and you typically have to pee.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Okay.
sometimes we're so cozy under the covers. We're like, I
Right.
don't feel like getting out of bed.
Yeah.
I'm just going to lay here for 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Right. Think about a little kid coming up to the side of your bed,
Mhm.
or your younger child, if you have a child, whatever,
Yeah.
and they come up to the side of the bed and you're like, no, go away. I'll take
Mhm.
you pee later.
Okay. Yeah.
We're not doing that right now.
Right.
Right. It's similar to your inner child, right? You're telling yourself, we're not peeing right now. We'll go
Oh.
later.
Oh, interesting.
So now we're going to get up in the morning and we're going to take our little inner child pee. We're not going to make them wait for 5 minutes.
We're not going to make them wait. Yeah.
And you will notice how often you actually neglect yourself. You don't take yourself pee. You don't actually drink
Yeah.
the water that you need to drink.
Yeah.
You don't enjoy the coffee that you want to
Right.
enjoy.
Or
You
get them,
don't-
or just you hurry up to eat whatever junk
Yeah,
food
you
is
shove it in
around.
your mouth and
Yes.
you carry on. You don't sit down and take the time to eat.
Yes.
You don't dress yourself in the clothes that make you feel your best
Yeah.
self. You don't
Yeah.
even buy clothes that you enjoy because you think somebody else is more important and needs the clothes.
Yes.
Like, you don't value
Mhm.
yourself because
Mhm.
you have only ever valued everybody else.
Wow.
And so let's start with going pee in the
Okay.
morning.
I love
Because
that.
you will, it has worked for everybody. It worked for me. I was like, it went from my head to my felt sense, where I was like, oh,
Makes it. Oh yeah.
I
Because you're
don't
noticing
notice myself.
Yes. When you start, I love that you said that. Like,
Oh,
we notice how often we're neglecting ourselves
Yes.
when you
So-
have to pay attention to stuff like that.
Yes.
That's really good.
yeah.
Rather than this is about a diet or something. It's not about that. It's
No.
about how often are you, where are you neglecting
Well, if
yourself?
we have been neglected
Yes.
and dismissed, the
Yes.
only thing we know how to do is neglect ourselves
Yeah.
and dismiss ourselves.
Yes.
How else would we know different?
Right. And then do you think that starts the process then of
Yeah.
valuing yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah.
Because you get up and you're like, oh, look at that. I just took care of myself.
I love it.
It's
Yeah.
just it's a reframe. I didn't just go to the bathroom.
Right.
I just actually noticed my head to my heart. I got out of bed
Yeah.
consciously, right?
Yeah.
It's going from unconscious to conscious.
Yeah.
Carl Jung, right?
Okay,
I
yep,
love him so
yep.
much. He says, until we make the unconscious conscious, right?
Mhm.
Until we take our childhood patterns
Yes.
and understand them and make them conscious,
Yeah.
right? They will literally run our lives. Our
Mhm.
unconscious patterns will
Mhm.
run our lives, and we call them fate.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
We marry our childhood pattern, and we are
Yes.
like, oh my God, that's my fate. That's the chemistry.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the one.
Right.
That's the person.
Yeah.
Until we understand our patterns and bring them to our front consciousness,
Yeah.
they run our lives, and we call them fate. It was like
Amazing.
I did an intensive, and it was where I learned I was the perfect person. I was a controlled, monitored,
Yeah.
raised in a religious, fundamental environment.
Yes.
Like, what a perfect person for
a
a
perfect
controlling
storm.
person.
Perfect. Exactly.
Like, oh, hi.
I'm here.
I'm like, I'm ready for you to control me, and
I
I will do
know.
everything for you. That's how I was programmed.
Exactly.
I was like,
Yes.
I can't blame him.
Right.
I was his perfect match.
Exactly. Yes.
It was for me to learn
Yeah.
how to come back to myself and say,
Mhm.
I can't be here anymore.
Right.
I don't
And
want to
how-
be mistreated anymore.
And how we end up in multiple abusive relationships, because if we haven't changed our patterns, actually our values or what our expectations, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Because I always say, because people always ask me during an interview, like, what's the one thing? I'm like, well, the one thing that changed my life was boundaries, but I didn't get to boundaries without self-love.
Oh, yeah.
And self-love is harder to get to
Mhm.
because when you've never been shown love, or you haven't been shown love maybe correctly or the way that you needed it, where love is not conditional for as you perform or what you do and all the other things like
Mhm.
that, your place in the family or your place in the marriage and all that stuff,
Yeah.
then it's hard to know even how to self-love.
Mhm.
So I did boundaries and self-love together. They walked hand in hand. But
Mhm.
I when I left, and I don't know if this is what you recommend or whatever, but when I left, I was intentional with my healing. Like, it wasn't just like, all right, well, first thing I said was like, I'm getting rid of the problem, so everything's going to be great. Very type A, I'm an Aries. I'm like, let's get this over. Let's get this healing going here. Like,
Mhm.
what day am I divorced? Let's go. I truly thought that. And I had to have friends go, you're going to be grieving. I go, grieving him, grieving
Mhm.
that marriage.
I'm
Like,
still grieving. It
exactly.
just it bubbles up each time something else shows up.
Exactly. Because we're grieving for what
Yeah.
could have been, what we wanted,
Who I
who you
was.
were. I mean, maybe the future faking or just everything as you're
Everything.
unraveling everything.
Mhm.
And I was like, what? So what I said to myself was, no one has told me they like me.
Mhm.
Everybody says they think I'm a terrible person. Like, I
Mhm.
was getting fed this in different communities and my
Mhm.
marriage or whatever, that is just like, you're difficult, you're a problem, all these things. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm going to go get healing and see if I can figure out if I even like myself. Cause I didn't feel like I was a terrible person,
Mhm.
but I didn't understand what other people saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so so I always say I ran after my healing.
Mhm.
That's why I needed it done. Like, hello, let's go. I needed it
Mhm.
done.
But it doesn't happen quickly. And I think
It
that's something that's
doesn't.
really important to know is
Yes.
there's no a lot of times people want to know how long is this going to be? Like,
Right.
they'll come to my office and they'll say, I think I need to have 6 sessions with you and I just need to work through this childhood stuff. I'm like, "Oh, honey."
Yes, exactly.
Like, you didn't get here in 50 years. We're not going to undo this in 6 weeks. Like, that's just not
Yes,
how it
exactly.
works. I wish it did, but it's just
Yeah.
not.
And do you think that if the people who are coming in who are ready to be, and it doesn't matter even if in your coaching too, but
Yeah.
do you think that the people who are coming into you that are like, I am ready? Because like for me, I was like, I am ready to
Mhm.
look at whatever
Yeah.
the quote unquote problem is,
Yeah.
right? I wanted to do that. Do you think those people are more, like can move through the process faster? I don't want to say that because
I think there's a level of readiness
okay,
that I
helps with
think
that.
everybody's at a different space.
Yeah.
Therapists, we often say we get people at different levels. Like, sometimes we're tilling the soil, sometimes we're planting the seed, and sometimes we get the harvest. It just depends on where people
Yes.
are in their journey, and
Yes.
there's no end.
Yeah.
I wish that there were.
I
There just
know.
isn't,
Yeah.
sadly.
But
But we do. There is good.
yes.
Right.
And
That
we get
doesn't there's not
tools
a,
and
I should reframe that, because that's sort of a depressing way to look
yeah,
at it.
okay.
There's not an end because we're always growing, but there
Right.
is, we do get out of this deep
Yes.
despair
Yes.
of where we've been trapped
Right.
in this abusive
Right.
sadness, and
Right.
we can come back to ourselves and find ourselves. But I was sharing with you earlier, like, finding your authentic self it is fun. It is daunting.
It is. Yeah.
But even, like, I flew out here to meet you to
Yeah.
have cake. Like, this,
Right.
I'm on my authentic self journey.
Right.
Like, in real time, you're all witnessing it. Hey,
Right.
like,
Here it
hey,
is.
here we
Hello.
are. It's super fun. It is. Like, it is,
Yeah.
but it's also, it's difficult.
Mhm.
It's scary, and
Because you don't know what is authentic. Who's authentic Amy? Like,
yeah.
what does that even look like?
Well, yeah, and you lose so many people. I lost everybody,
Yeah.
and so I'm kind of like, you're in this weird place of, I'm validating myself now, because
Yes.
I can do that, and
Yes.
that's great. That's
Yes.
cool. I don't need anyone else to do it.
Yes.
But also, okay, no one's mirroring me, so
yes.
I'm validating myself, but not mirrored. So there's just this really
Mhm.
interesting place that you get
Yeah.
to, that you can do it. You don't need anybody else to do it,
Mhm.
and also
Yeah, I love that.
And
And also,
also,
I think that's so important.
yeah.
We kind of glossed over a little bit of the when we, what the how devastating it is that,
Hmm.
um, you know, we don't lose people, they lose us. Okay,
Yeah.
but it's very devastating
It's
because
so hard.
I had many late night phone calls with my coach where I was like, so that's it? I have no more friends?
Mhm.
Like, and she would just be like, hang on, they're coming
They're
or whatever.
coming.
And then not only did the wrong ones leave, but some of them that were already in my life were just more like they could come closer.
Closer.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there was space for them. And
Yeah.
I was different and they
Mhm.
were in a different part. So, and I don't know about you, but it's like there's no time for like I don't have time. Like at my age, I'm like I don't have time for like surface level stuff. Like
No.
yes, it's fun to sometimes talk about whatever, but I mean, you and I we've never like how's the weather? No, we barely said
I don't
that.
have any time for the weather.
No, other than in Las Vegas, the weather's beautiful. So I'm like, Amy, you're in luck. But other than that, no,
Mhm.
we like went, let's go all the way.
Here's my
What kind of
slideshow of my trauma.
what kind of trauma you got? Let's talk about
Let's
it.
talk about it. Let's go.
But I think it's fun. But so when we are losing people,
Yeah.
so what do you find?
I cried a lot.
Yes.
I
And you're
just,
grieving.
I mean, the reality of it, I posted recently. I
Yeah.
just, like, the reality of it
Yeah.
is it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not pretty.
No.
It's messy.
Yeah.
The messy middle is
It is.
hard.
It's
And I
the
think
gooey part of the butterfly.
it is. And I think to show healing as some pretty,
Yes.
like aesthetic,
Right.
it's just not. It
Yeah.
wasn't for me. I'll just put
Yeah.
it that way. I don't know. Maybe it was for somebody else. For me,
Yeah.
it was torture.
Yes.
Healing was harder than the trauma.
And this is the thing is when I'm talking to people on this show, I don't want, and why I called it That's Where I'm At. I don't want it to be like everything is sunshine and roses and
Mhm.
everything's great because to get there,
Mhm.
it's been torture.
It has
And
been
even but is there's good? Oh my gosh, there's so much good,
So
so
much
much good.
good.
Like it's worth every
Yeah.
pain, right?
Yeah.
But even like things like I had a little slip up. I looked at a picture or something last year and it's like, oh, that
Mhm.
knocks me down. Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah.
not I thought I was I said to myself, "Oh, you're not where you thought you were." Like I was down for 4 days.
Mm.
And when I talked to my coach, she's like, "Okay, that's going to happen." Like you're
But 4 days compared to like 4 months where it used to be.
Yes. Like under the covers,
so much
sobbing
progress.
for 24. So much progress.
So much progress. And I tell people, do it.
But it's normal.
Take the 4 days.
Take the 4 days.
And then you get up.
Yeah. And it wasn't 24 hours of the 4 days. It was just like, it was on my mind. I'm like, why did I do that? Why did
Yeah.
and I texted a couple of my friends who know this process. And I said, they told me not to look at the video. So what did I do? They're like, look at the video.
Yeah.
and they both said, we would have done the same thing because it's normal. We're
You're
humans.
human.
But you're right. I rebounded faster. Right. So because when I talk about the really hard shit of healing and trauma and stuff like that, and not even like in going through a trauma, the after stuff, right? This is the hard shit. I always say, I'm like, you guys don't be scared of this part. It's so important to go through it because the other side, just think of the butterfly in the cocoon. Inside the cocoon is where all the stuff is happening. That's where you are. You're wrapped up in your
dissolving.
You're dissolving.
You're literally dissolving.
And you're changing. And when you come out, another caterpillar is going to walk over to you and go, "You've changed," and you're going to be like, "That was the whole point."
Yeah. And there's two things I want to say if I can remember them because I will forget.
Yes,
I do forget things.
It's okay.
People that knew you before.
Yes.
Remember you as who you were before.
Yeah, they're not going to see me now.
No.
Yes, that makes sense.
They don't
oh my
see
gosh.
the new version of you.
Yes.
They think you're crazy.
Right.
But they don't grow with you.
Yes.
They only remember you as the role that you had.
Yes. In their life or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. The ones that haven't come with you.
Right. Yeah, you haven't come.
Right.
Yes.
The ones
okay.
that haven't
that
come
makes
along.
sense.
They're
yes.
like, the ones that have fallen away.
Yes.
They look at you as who you were.
Yes.
That's how you are in their mind.
Right.
That's one thing. The other thing I did forget.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay.
It will come back to me.
Okay.
Oh, I remember.
Okay, good.
When I said healing has been worse than the trauma,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I want to say for me, right? Because the trauma, our bodies and brains are so brilliant
Yeah.
to give us dissociation.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so when you get to this position
Mhm.
of healing and actually moving that grief through your body, because our body holds it,
Yeah.
being conscious of it
Mhm.
is way harder. And
Yes.
people, I didn't know. No,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I had no idea.
Right. Me either.
Feeling that in your body
Mhm.
while you're aware
Yes.
was way more painful
Yeah.
than going through it dissociated.
So let's talk about that, because dissociation, which I didn't realize is a trauma response, your body is protecting you, your brain is protecting you from
It's like,
what's
this
happening.
is too painful to
I
feel
cannot
it.
look at this. I can't deal with
Mhm.
this. It's when we're like almost like staring off into space, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's okay, it's normal,
Mhm.
and it's a way to be, our brain is protecting us.
Yeah.
But then after
Mhm. So
you're
when
gonna
you
start,
finally get enough safety built
Yeah.
up in your body, like we're talking, you've
Yes.
gone through it, right?
Yeah.
You've gone through the
Going through
process.
the process,
You're
yeah.
healing. You've finally created safety enough in your body.
Yeah.
In your body that's like, oh, okay, now you feel safe.
Yeah.
Here's
Okay,
some
here you go.
memories. Here's some memories that you didn't feel
Yeah.
safe enough to
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
when you were 3
Right.
and 4
Yeah.
and 5, right? The people
Right.
that come in and they say, I don't remember my childhood.
Mhm.
Well, there was a reason for
There's
that.
a reason. Yeah.
It was too scary and
Yeah.
too terrifying
Yeah.
and too abusive, and it was not
Right.
okay.
Right.
And that's why your brain was like, hey, we're going to take you away.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to experience it
Right.
here.
So you're
right?
safe. Yeah.
So then later when you're healing and all of a sudden you are now conscious
Mhm.
and now your body is remembering.
Right.
And that is a different kind of experience.
Mhm.
So, and not, it's painful, and also you're aware, so you know that there's good on the other side.
Yeah.
It's part of the process.
Yeah.
It's dissolving in the goo.
It is.
And here we are.
So as you were writing your book,
Yeah.
I had this experience. Tell me if you did.
Mhm.
My publisher's like, oh, as you're writing, things are going to come back to you. And I'm like, oh, I thought I had everything.
Mhm.
Did you have that experience as you're writing and trying to like unravel things or telling your stories or whatever?
Mhm.
How was that?
I've started writing my book for a very long time.
Okay.
I was in the process for a really long time,
Okay.
And so finally I hired a coach to keep me accountable.
Oh, okay.
Which was really great. And so I started working with him, and he's like, just dump everything in. You probably have way more than you realize.
Oh,
And I
okay.
really did. I had
Yeah.
like half of it.
Yeah.
And so I just went away for a week, and it
Oh.
poured out of me
Oh,
like
awesome.
crazy. It just
Yeah.
wouldn't stop. But yeah.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is when I wrote 2020,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of awful things that happened in 2020.
Yeah.
And like, I was just surviving. Like I didn't even think it was awful. I mean, I knew it was awful, right?
Yes.
But the amount of things that happened in
Mhm.
2020
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And when I was reading it, and I thought, oh my God, like I don't even know how I lived in 2020.
No,
COVID
seriously.
aside,
Seriously.
COVID was the least of my worries
Seriously.
in 2020.
Yeah.
I read that and I thought, I don't know how I stood up.
Yeah. That was the second to last year of my marriage. And it was, when I think back, same thing. Like the pandemic, our marriage did not survive the pandemic. But not only that, I think with my mom dying, that was part of it, was like the apathy of
Mhm.
him. I could see his apathy, but it just being in the close quarters. Like
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people who are like, oh no, we didn't make it through the pandemic,
Mhm.
because you're with this person. And then not only that. And so, as we're wrapping up, it's like not only that, but when you're trying to figure out, how did you decide to go in either of your relationships? So how did you decide to go? Because for me, I had to say, I didn't know there was abuse. I didn't know
Mhm.
what was going on in any way. All I knew was I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to look at him and do this for 40 more years, I was arbitrary number, how am I going to survive it? Because I didn't think I could, because I didn't even want to be alive. So what did it look like for you to make a decision to even go?
I would say that my first was just an extension of my childhood patterning.
Okay.
So I was not even a person.
Yeah.
I wasn't even a person.
Right.
Because I was deprived of any knowledge, right? It was such a fundamental religious home.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed any information that was secular
Okay.
outside of the home. And
Okay.
even my education was religious and very controlled.
Mm-hmm.
So no television outside of like Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, okay.
Black and white shows.
Yeah.
Very, very controlled.
Okay.
So I wasn't making a conscious decision to get married. I just was looking for someone to rescue me. So I had an affair.
Oh, okay.
In my first.
You're like, I'm going to blow this all up.
Well, and that wasn't conscious either.
Okay.
I wasn't consciously walking into an affair. I
had somebody paying attention to you, or
I went out to work, and because I know we are running out of time, I went out to work because he had lost his job, and I was in my 30s, and this 20-year-old kid, like it didn't even start as that. He just made me laugh, and I was like, oh, someone is talking to me.
Yeah.
Like someone knows I'm a human.
When we're so starved.
I was like the, dry sponge, you put water on it and it just sucks it up like it's, you live in Vegas, right? It's dry. You drink some water and you're like,
yes, you're like, that's it. I'm refreshed.
And I don't want to make light of an affair because I don't regret things in my life because I am here today.
Yeah.
There's no other way I would be here today because my story is my story.
It is. Yeah.
It just is what it is. The only regret that I have is that it hurt my children.
Of course.
But my affair saved my life. I would have killed myself. Like I was on the bank of the river. Like I was, I wouldn't have lived.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my honest truth. Like I just wouldn't have survived.
Yeah.
I was dying inside.
Right.
So,
and especially like this is 30 something years, right? Of like, all your life, this is everybody just sucks you dry, and then here comes somebody who's paying attention to you.
Well, and there's also an element of I only knew how to use my body, right?
Yes.
I came from sexual abuse. I wasn't protected.
Yeah.
Multiple abusers in that way, and then I was used that way in my marriage, and so I only knew how to do that in life.
Yeah.
And I did go home. I hadn't yet explained the affair, and I just like I need a divorce. I want out, and he was like, no.
Wow.
So at that point, I was like, I guess I'm blowing this up because I need out.
Yes.
And so I think unconsciously, the only way I knew how to get out was to blow it up.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And I have paid for it handsomely ever since.
So what about the second one? And then we'll just start like wrapping up.
The second one was, I believe it was just a period of like waking up slowly inside of it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't wait too long after the first one to marry. Right?
Okay.
I didn't do enough healing at all.
Yeah.
I just got love bombed and roped right back into another toxic.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what this is what it's supposed to feel like. I had that thought on the sidewalk. I was like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like. This is the man. Yeah. This is it.
Yeah.
Oh, and I walked right into it, and it didn't take very long before, it was just like each time I left, it was like more and more discerning, more and more waking up. I was like, and I was also a therapist, so I was constantly in my own training. Yeah, and I just kept learning, breaking my patterns, and so.
And now you're sharing all
Here
of that.
I am.
And then you're sharing all of that with us.
I
am. So I love your Instagram because you're so real. You're talking about childhood. You're talking about your relationships. You're talking about everything. Yep. And then your book. So where can people find you? And we're going to put everything in the show notes. But what's your Instagram where everybody can find you?
My Instagram is God's Favorite Problem.
I love it.
Yeah.
And we are going to put her book, we're going to put everything in the show
Yeah.
notes. So, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe and like and comment. And then if you are listening, you're on Apple or Spotify, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review and let us know that you love us. So, her book is Performing Normal, A Woman's Story from Self-Abandonment to Self-Leadership. And I am so excited to read that. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Thank you so
Thanks.
much for
Thank
sharing
you.
your story. Your trauma to triumph.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you're still in process, and we're
Yeah.
all in process. That's what the podcast is about. So
Yeah.
there's no, we don't need you to be, whatever, perfect or whatever.
Well, I am no longer.
Oh, okay, great. We don't allow perfect.
Even when I wasn't.
We
so
don't
I
allow
don't know.
perfect people around here. I appreciate you so much, and I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad you came out to
Yeah.
Las Vegas to have
Yay.
cake with me.
Thank
So
you.
thanks so much, guys. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.